Hi guys, thanks for coming. I'm AB, Fun Sale Games CEO and founder. And today I'm going to speak on the topic how to make a hit game in these difficult times. And it's a tough question, and nobody in the world has the exact answer for it. But we do tend to know a little bit more than others because we have done it 21 times. We have published 21 games over a period of last 4 years. So I think I might be able to throw some light on the topic. So let's start with an introduction on our company, like Fun Sale Games. Yeah. Okay, great. So Fun Sale Games, we started in 2008, right when the iPhone launched. And we made our first game. It was a racing game, and it was 10 years of hard work and failures. And by 2019, we had made around 600 games, all failed. And we made a hit in 2019, Idle World. We published it with Homa. And that was the beginning of the ball rolling. And there was no stopping for us then. Back to back, we produced hits like Idle Human, 9 months with multi-million downloads. And we have published over 20 plus games, and we have 300 million plus downloads across all these games. We are now a team of, I started with just myself for 5-6 years. And today we have a team of 90 plus people. And let's right now hit to the topic where how to make a hit game. And to know that, I feel that we should first know the history of gaming, how the gaming was before and what it is today, how was the process, what happened during these 15 years. And without knowing our history, we'll not be able to, plan the next move on what games to make ahead. So I have divided the periods of mobile gaming into 4 separate years. Now, 2009 to 2014, there were no free games that time, and there was no way to earn money apart from launching paid games. You could only make money when people bought your games. That was the period of 2009 to 14. 2015 to 19 was the period when in-apps came in, ads started coming in, and people had more way to monetize. Then it was 2020 to 23 when the madness really started, when 80% of more people started developing games because it was all ads and hyper-casual started. I'll discuss every era in detail so that you understand how you can plan your next move in making the next game. 2024 onwards, we have to decide what we have to do. So I'll start with the first era of mobile gaming, which was 2019 to 14. In this era, there was only paid games. And I remember when I launched my first game in 2008 something, you have to price your game at around $0.99 or $1.99. And I had priced my game at $0.99. Next day, there was 1 download. Next full month, there were only 6 or 7 downloads. So there was nothing to do. There was no promotion. You did not have any way to promote your game through user acquisition. There were no channels to promote your game. Whatever word of mouth was the only way you can, someone can play your game. So I made my game free for one night, and I had forgotten about it. Next morning when I woke up, there were 2,000 downloads. So I got excited. I went everywhere shouting that now we have made a hit. I think it's done. Because my counting was that 2,000 downloads win $2,000. But at the evening, I realized I had made my game free. I scheduled it to become free. So that was the way people used to promote their games, by making their paid games free for a certain period of time. And with those people who are playing the game, the free games, they will do mouth publicity, and your game can be downloaded when you made it paid. But it was really a very tough era. The best part was there was no prototypes, no CPI testing, only proper completed games. Now, why I'm talking about this is very important because when 2020 came, people just started making prototype without even thinking how will they scale the game even if they get a good CPI. This time, people took months to make one game, and that is what we developers have to do today. Why this is important is we have to learn from the past that if you believe in a game, you have to make the game complete. You have to plan the game, you have to plan the scalability of the game, and then go back and test the CPI. Because the era of that hyper casual 2 years and fun has gone now. And now we need to build a solid game with proper monetization strategies, proper scalabilities, proper planning, so that you can build a successful game. Otherwise, the gamers who are playing the game now are not the gamers who played the hyper casual game. They are these gamers who are playing the game back in 2019 also. This kind of genre is back. So this was also an era of landscape gaming. Now we know that we hardly build landscape games. Only most successful companies build landscape game and make it successful. But this era is returning, and 2024 might be a 30-70 landscape portrait gaming, according to me. So as I said, user acquisition in this time was just the word of mouth. If your game was in the top charts, then you'll get downloads. If your game was a very good game and people liked it, when you make it free, they'll say word of mouth and you'll get downloads. You can make your game free for some time in this period, and people downloaded it. And there was Tapjoy at this time. Tapjoy used offer walls where you could promote other games in your games. If people download that game, they will get some rewards in your game. So this was the era in 2019 to 14 where we had games like, Tiny Wings, Angry Birds, Fruit Ninja, Temple Run, Subway Surfers. And you can see that these were the games that are still played by people 15 years later. All these games which I have mentioned and many more like these are still played by people 15 years later. This means that the games made during that time were, had potential in them, had matter in them. And that is what we have to do today, just not make prototypes. We move to the next stage of 2015 to 2019. When free games started coming up because monetization started. Although it was very low, it's not the scale of monetization we are seeing today. But in 2015-16, people started advertising in your games. So there was a way to earn through ads, not as much as today, but part way. But still IAPs ruled. At this period we had around 60 to 70% IAPs revenue and 30% ad revenue. It's reversed today. And paid games finished off. Now there were no paid games. By 2015, people realized that nobody is paying money to play a game. They don't know what the game is. They'll pay $1, $2, and they end up buying a shitty game. So it was completely off. Today there are no paid games, but it started demising in around 2015. And by 2019, there were no paid games at all. Hardly, like you see some paid games today, but they don't have much downloads. Ad monetization started. But still there was no mediation. Like, mediation started in around 2018 where you can bid your competitors, your ad providers can bid amongst others to give you the best price. But it was not during this period. And this was an era of puzzle games, and puzzle games were always there, but this period, puzzle games really did well because it was, IAP based, and in puzzle games, when you are stuck or you want coins or something, so you depend on IAPs. So the games like, Cut the Rope, and also, Clash of Clans, and these games always ruled. But Gardenscapes and Match 3 puzzle games along with Candy Crush and all started rising to their peak, where you solve a puzzle and there is a meta involved, like Gardenscapes. But, we say that hyper-casual started in 2020. That is wrong. Hyper-casual started in 2015-16 when catch-up games created a whole genre of hyper-casual. But that was a different hyper-casual. What we did in 2020 to 23 was more of a fun hyper-casual where you did not require any talent. What catch-up did in 2016 to 19 was that they made a kind of hyper-casual game where you don't have to be a core gamer, but still it had all the qualities of hyper-casual. So what I mean to say is that people say hyper-casual is dead. I, in fact, is a promoter of that hyper-casual is dead. But if you count games like Ketchup, what they made in 17, 18, you know, games like 2048, but even games like Stack 'em All, where you play the game for 5, 10 minutes, but you enjoy it, and that is hyper casual. Hyper casual means you play it for a short period of time, have fun with it, and then play it again. So hyper casual was there in 2016-17, and Ketchup was the king of hyper casual. They got acquired later, but as you know, 2020 games came, these games stopped doing well because I'll come to that next. When 2020 hit, something else happened. We were hit by pandemic, and here I would like to compare the gaming industry with our cricket industry. Now, if you notice, before IPL, the audiences which watched cricket was, you can say that, mainly male dominated and core cricket lovers. After IPL came, it gave an option to the females and everyone in the world who, you know, who like to watch a game for 2-3 hours to come and watch cricket. And you know what happened after IPL. The audience is doubled, tripled. Same thing happened with the gaming industry. When the pandemic hit, the people started staying at home, and females had less job to do. So what happened was the female audiences overwhelmingly increased. And so increased the games like, you know, the simulation games which did not make much sense, but it was just fun and satisfying. And this era from 2020 to 22 end was dominated by all sorts of games. You know, this is the era we call the proper era of hyper casual because there was an influx of completely new audience which had never played a mobile game before. They started playing mobile games where you can, you know, swipe on the screen and you are cutting a soap or you are decorating something. You don't require any talent. You tap and hold. In fact, I remember one game where you tap and hold and everything was happening just so satisfying. It wasn't, don't call that a game, but still they earned millions and millions. And that's when, you know, publishers like Crazy Labs, Supersonic, they did amazingly well. They made, you know, use of that situation and they banked it on the situation, and games like, you know, Phone DIY or Bridge Race, these kind of games, everybody was playing because now everybody could play mobile games. You don't need any talent to play mobile games. But this is not supposed to last forever because pandemic finished and 2023 beginning, people, you know, started going back to their work, and the only players left were again who were before 2020, who were real gamers, who wanted challenge, who wanted strategy, who wanted skills. And so I personally feel hyper casual is dead, but when you talk about games which Ketchup made, they might do well again. And that is why I feel that if you are into hyper casual, all the developers who feel disheartened that if hyper casual is dead, what am I supposed to make, because I'm not used to making casual games, I'm not used to making, you know, mid-core games or bigger games. I would not tell you to be disheartened because hyper casual is not only making games which are satisfying, but you can be making hyper casual games which are skill based. And I would recommend you to play every single game which Ketchup made. And if you are a hyper casual studio, you will definitely love what Ketchup did that time. And you can definitely get inspired. So it's always, you know, everybody cannot come with a brand new idea and make a new game anytime they want. There is always an inspiration, and some people might call it copy, but if you use your brains in copying, you can come up with great ideas and, you know, make a hit. But just getting inspired by playing some games which did really well in their times. Now where are we at now? 2024 is a period where everybody is confused. They don't know what to do. All the developers who were earning money through making prototypes by giving to publishers, people were getting around $2,000, $2,500 per prototype. That is gone now. It's no more there. 90% of the world publishers are suffering and they have stopped paying you any prototype money. So you give them the game, you make the game, you test with them, that is fine, but they will not pay you any money for the prototyping. Very difficult to get from them. Although some are still giving it, but it's become very, very difficult. So what do you do now? Your studio was dependent on that money which you were getting for making prototypes. Now, how many of you, I would like by a raise of hand, how many of you during the era of hyper-casual 2022, 20 to 22, were making prototypes and the main source of income were money coming from publishers through prototypes? It was just like with a raise of hand. Okay, so not many. So the others, revenue, what is your revenue source? If you have made a hit game in past and it is giving you enough revenue, that is fine. But going forward, making a hit game has become very difficult because you see the minimum retention we require for any game, forget it, hybrid, casual, hyper casual, casual, strategy, simulation, these are just names. Finally, we want a good game which people play throughout the time and people play for at least 30 days. That is the main requirement in today's world. And minimum D1 retention is 40% requirement today because the eCPMs are rising and your CPIs are increasing. The CPI is no more 10 cent, 15 cent. When I say 15 cent, 10 cent, I'm talking about US. And now it's no less than 40 cents, 50 cents, even if you come up with the best creatives. So how do you achieve a retention of 40%? How do you achieve a minimum play time, day zero play time of 2000 seconds? That is, if you plan the game from the beginning, if you plan the scalability of the game, if you plan the intro properly. Now let's start that how will you make a hit game? How will you get these numbers? The most important, I personally believe the most important element of a game is the introduction of the game. At least 30 to 40% people are supposed to delete your game within first 5 minutes of your gameplay. If you can make them hold the game for 5 minutes, you are supposed to get a good D1 retention. And D1 retention is still the most important figure. During the hyper-casual times, retention was not even ranked as an important KPI. It was always there before 20, and now it is coming back. Because in hyper-casual time, it was all about CPI. If you can get a good video out there and you can get a 30 cent below CPI, they don't care. I know a very famous game, I would not like to name it, but it was #1 on both Apple and Google for around 1.5 months, and I know the full detail of that game and full story. They had a D1 retention of 17%, 1.7, but their CPI was 15, 20 cents. So they don't care. Publishers don't care. Publishers want to know if they spend 100 rupees today, and if they're getting 105 back, they'll make it $1 million and they will get $5,000 back. So they always worry about how much money they are getting back. So that's why now the things are not that. First of all, you will not get a low CPI, it's impossible. Secondly, if you get a higher CPI, you need the game to be strong to carry it forward and give you an LTV. LTV is the lifetime value, which should be bigger than the CPI, and every publisher is happy. So to make a hit game, basically you need to make a very important introduction and plan the whole process of the game moving forward, which is like, you plan the game step by step. You first make a game which is D3, which has content for the user till day 3, and then you launch it on the store and test all the KPIs, the CPI, the retention, the play time. And if you have everything in place, then you plan the scalability of the game and make it move forward. But it's no more the time where yesterday an idea came to your mind and today you make a game and launch it and you test CPI and get good CPI, continue with the game. That is over, and I seriously doubt it is going to come back again. So to focus on lower CPI, I would strongly recommend you to come up with creative ideas for your game, to come up with a different approach to your game, what you are showing in your game. Try to make creatives which are very, very attractive in the first 2 seconds. Now, very important factor which hardly anyone knows is that when we make a creative for our game, a video for our game, we tend to make it 30 seconds and we focus on all the 30 seconds portion. But there's an important mantra I want to give you. We are really good at getting low CPIs. So when we did deep research into that, the most important seconds of your 30 seconds are the first 2 seconds. 70 to 75% people drop out without seeing your ad for more than 2 seconds. In fact, it's 1 second sometimes. Because where are you showing your ads? You always test on Facebook. That's still the benchmark. That's still the first thing to do. And when people are, scrolling down the Instagram, they hardly have 1 second to watch your ad. And that is the most impactful moment you have to make for your game's ad. You don't have to make full detail 30 seconds. You can put any part of your game recording in the later 25, 27 seconds. But the first 1 to 3 seconds is where you put all your effort, all your brain power to make that so attractive that you have to just make that person stop and watch your ad. Once they watch it for 2-3 seconds, they usually click it. And that's what we want the most, the click-through rate. So that is the very important mantra to get a lower CPI, which is always whatever said and done, retention, playtime, CPI will always remain most powerful because you cannot get an LTV of $2 for a game with $2 CPI. Very tough. We have tried that. Getting a $2 LTV is almost difficult unless you are making a Clash Royale or Garden Escape or something. One more important aspect is now you have gotten all. You've got a good CPI, you've got good playtime, you've got retention. How will you make money? Interstitials are going out. Interstitials will no more be a trend to follow. Google and Apple are, doing everything to make the interstitials go away forever because that is very disturbing for a gamer. So what you have to do is you have to plan your game, the monetization strategy without interstitials. So you are left with only two monetization strategy as per today, which is IAPs and rewarded videos. When you make the game, you have to immediately start and you have to think and be confident that yes, the game will be a hit. So you have to immediately start planning where will you monetize the game? What kind of IAPs are you going to use? And where maximum you can show the rewarded videos. People like to, when they are not disturbed by interstitials, people like to earn more stuff in the game through watching rewarded videos. And rewarded videos will always be there because you might give them virtual currencies, but you have to plan the strategy where you might give them something more than just the currency in the game. So rewarded videos are the way to go through, but start planning IAPs. If you have never done any IAPs, look at the big games. You could look at the famous games who have done really well and follow their footsteps on what kind of IAPs you can apply on your game. That's all, basically if you can do all these steps, you have to focus on making a bigger game, plan your monetization, focus on the progression, try to get a lower CPI by what I suggested, and you'll get your retention once you have all in place. Now, FunCell made a big step last week, and when we realized we were approached by at least 7 or 8 indie developers from India, small studios, that they are really struggling not only from financial point of view, but also from guidance point of view. What next? They are really confused because they are low on cash, they have stopped getting money for prototypes, the games are not working, and that's why we took a decision which was long pending, and FunCell Games decided to go into publishing. We have an experience of making 21 hit games with over 300 million downloads, and now we want to share that experience with you all. So I welcome all the studios who have a good game to approach me directly on my website, come to my booth, come to our booth, FunCell Games has a booth at A1, and reach out to us. We are ready to help you in whatever way without anything for us. If you want funding, we are able to provide that. We will help you build a better game. We'll give you our strong team If your game has a potential, come to us and we'll definitely make it better. I think that's all, Nikhil. Thank you. Yeah, of course, yeah.
Hello, hello, yeah. Thank you very much, Abhishek sir. I think that was a great session, and I think probably we are moving back in the reverse direction
Exactly. Things are
from
coming back.
2020.
History repeats.
Yeah, yeah,
Exact thing is history is repeating itself.
yeah. So, guys, if anyone has any questions for Abhishek sir, yeah, please, yeah.
Hello, this is Apurv. I work as a game designer at a mobile gaming company. So my question was, let's take an example of Gardenscapes. So their main thing was merging. Then they moved on to bubble shooter or the match 3 mechanics, and they're combining every type of game mechanic in a single game. Then there is the thing of mini games between games, like there is a level to get those rings out and save some
Pull the
character
pin,
or
pull the
something.
pin.
Yeah. So, what do you think is the direction we are going in exactly?
So I'll tell you the whole story behind Garden Escapes. A very good question. What game is Garden Escapes? And Garden Escape was launched in 2014. It was just a match 3 game like Candy Crush with a meta. Now, Candy Crush did not have any meta. Garden Escape, Candy Crush, you match 3 and move to next level and keep on playing more levels. Imagine that same game, Garden Escape, what they did, they added meta. Now, what Candy Crush did, before I'll tell you one more thing, Candy Crush, which hardly anyone knows, I guess, was a copy of Bejeweled. Bejeweled was a PC game which was exactly the same mechanics as Candy Crush, you match 3. But Candy Crush added one extra thing which was called moves. In Bejeweled, you can play the game forever. In Candy Crush, you had limited moves, and that brought the challenge in. Gardenscape went another step further, and they introduced meta to the game, where you have a goal of building a garden, homescapes, gardenscape. You're building something while playing the match 3 game. Now, coming to your question, Garden Escape does not have any merge element, it's match 3. But you remember when I mentioned about the CPI, getting a lower CPI? Garden Escape had one time a CPI of $15, 1.5. As suppose I am the creative head in Playrix company, and they tell me, come on Abhishek, get me a lower CPI. What will I do? I will check out the hyper casual games, the puzzle games which are doing the best and having the lowest CPI. So what Garden Escape did, and they did it very intelligently, they saw the best moving games during that period, which one of the games was Pull the Pin. It was doing amazing in puzzle space. Since Garden Escape is a puzzle game, they made an ad with Pull the Pin and they launched it. So people saw that ad thinking Garden Escape to be a Pull the Pin game, and when they downloaded it, they saw that no, this is a match 3 game, they're cheating us. They're showing us this, and if you see today, even the Garden Escape's first screenshot on the Google Play Store is a Pull the Pin something. So then they added the Pull the Pin game inside Garden Escape so that the people don't feel cheated. And that was an ad strategy completely from the ad point of view, where they get lower CPI to get users in.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, we'll take one more question and then we'll wrap up. And sir, would request you to stay on the stage. We have a small gift for you afterward.
Thanks.
Hey Abhishek, myself Anshul. I'm working in a casual gaming company, Moonfrog Labs. So my question is regarding two things that you mentioned about D1 retention and the lower CPIs. So first question is regarding the CPI that you mentioned around $0.5 or 50 cents, right? Does it apply to just the hyper casual games or in general any games?
Actually, it is not. When hyper casual games are hardly existing nowadays. So 0.5 CPI when I sent, it was for US, but it applies to mostly all genres. If you have a word game, if you have an extreme hardcore puzzle game, then you might go to $1. But when I say 0.5 cents, it's a decent CPI to start with, because when you scale the game, it will go beyond $1.
Correct, yeah.
So it applies to mostly all games, but not like 80% of the games, which
Okay,
we have the capability to make.
Got
You know,
it.
it doesn't apply for a Clash Royale or a PUBG or big RPG games. It doesn't apply at all, nowhere near.
Basically you're saying 50 cents will allow you to scale
Yeah.
at that range, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Second question is regarding the retention. So do you have any key learnings with respect to reaching to 40% D1 retention?
Progression, you have to make the user understand the game. That's why I said introduction is very important. You have to make the user understand and give a goal to the user. When we made Idle Human in 9 months, see, I'll give you a good example. We made Idle Human and D1 retention was 72%, 7-2. Why? Because in that, it was just an idle clicker. You are clicking the button and the human bone is being formed and then the body parts are getting revealed. You have played for 40 minutes for the day, okay, you retire. But in your mind, there is something going on, I have to complete this human tomorrow. Although we made it so slow progression that he'll not be able to complete in 15, 20 days. But he will come back tomorrow thinking, because we made an exponential curve where you are completing things very fast in the beginning and then it becomes very slow.
Understood.
So to get a D1 retention, you have to give an element to the user where he feels the need to come back tomorrow and finish what he started. And it should not finish. It should continue.
Understood. And does that also include for the people who start off but drop off in the middle also? Do you provide any
So if they
elements?
drop off in the middle, there's something wrong with your game and you assess that first and fix that first. But a progression is the most important thing in a game where you want to make the user feel that he has to come back again to play the game.
Got it.
That is the most important part.
Got it. Thank you.
Alright guys, thank you very much. And again, a huge round of applause for Abhishek sir.